Hi guys, Nera here. I'm at Dynamo Barbell, and I'm just going to share a couple ideas on different ways to train your quads. You know, a little bit unconventional, a little more creative ways to train them. When you're in more of a bare bones style gym, such as this one, you know, your garage gyms, your home gyms. Could also be if you're traveling, or if you just want to be a little creative and switch things up. So I'm going to show you three main things: the sissy squat and variations, kneeling quad extensions, and I'll also go over the Hindu squat and a slight variation that I like to do. Alright guys, so we're going to start off with the sissy squat, and there are a few different variations of the sissy squat that we can do. But primarily with the sissy squat, what we're doing is we're eliminating the amount of force coming from the hip. So essentially we want all the movement to happen through the knee. So we can do them freestanding sissy squat. We can do a sissy squat holding on to a squat rack, as you see Platts do in the old school bodybuilding videos. And you can also do, they have ones where you can put something behind your knee. So this is a neat little thing. Okay, if you don't have one in your gym, if you don't have a sissy squat machine, you can make one very easily for about 20 bucks. PVC pipe, screw, attach one of these bad boys. So just attach that there, and then I just put my knees. I just put it behind my knees to support my knees, and then you have something for your feet to press up against. And then from here, you can adjust it so it's so your shins are vertical, perpendicular to the ground. And then now all we do is we just sit back, and this keeps all the tension in the knees. My hips are doing zero of the work. And that puts a lot of nice tension here. So that's one way to do a sissy squat. Okay, so the old school like sissy squat, as we saw Tom Platts do and Arnold do in the encyclopedia, the old school days, that one is more of just to keep the hips locked out completely, straight line with the body, and lean back, getting your knees close to the ground. That can be done holding on to something, or it can be done freestanding if you want to challenge yourself more. Freestanding, you just have to be careful because you want to make sure that your knee is working as a first class lever, that it's not shaking around at all, so because we don't want to injure our knees obviously. But to start, you should definitely go holding on to something with at least one hand. You can go in a squat rack, grab it with two hands. And what we're going to do is we're just going to line our feet up right under our hips, tracking straight, knees tracking straight, and we're just going to squeeze our glutes, and we're just going to let our body lean back as we drive our knees towards the ground, and then extend through the knee. I'm holding on to this for both balance and also to give myself a little bit of help. Okay? Now, for some people, this might be a little bit difficult. As your muscle gets stretched out, you also get a lot weaker. So this position might be tough for some people. At that point, you can break at the hip just a little bit, and just put your knee down, get the full range of motion, and then you kind of come back up like that. Okay, so it's okay if you break at the hip a little bit to come back up. We're still getting a nice stretch in the quads, just not as stretched out if our hip was locked out. And then over time, we just slowly try to eliminate that little bit of flexion until it can be locked out. Okay, so we're going to lean back more. Usually you look at this towards the ceiling when you do these, and you focus on feeling a big stretch in your quads. Okay? And then of course, if we want to try the freestanding one, which is more of just like a show-off kind of thing, then you can do them freestanding, which is a lot harder. Here we go. So now we're going to go over the kneeling quad extension, which I find feels really great because it gets a full range down here and you feel a big stretch right around the end of the quad. And what we're going to do is I'm going to put my legs down and I'm going to align everything so the knee's tracking straight. Okay? And I'm just going to lean back, and then I'm going to drive by trying to kick my leg forward. Right now, I am using something to really help it. I'm scaling it down a lot by using a band on a pull-up bar. So as I go farther back, it really starts to help. Okay? It's a great way to warm it up, or if you're just trying it for the first time. Some people are able to go back all the way and lie on the floor. A lot of you won't be able to do that because your calves and your hamstrings will kind of bunch up. They won't let you do that. Some people will kind of turn their knee out to give space for their butt. I don't like doing that because I just feel insecure about my knees not tracking straight because I don't like having sore knees. All right, so this is the progression that I like to use for a kneeling quad extension. I like to place a bench behind me or just something behind me as a touch point to let me know, to keep my reps consistent, and it also forces me to control my reps a lot. Because if I don't have to touch something, then I might just go down and come up when I feel like it. And then also wanting to touch it lightly forces me to really control it at the hardest part of the movement. So I'm just gonna line up, and now I'm just gonna lean back. And then you see me slow down until I feel a touch, and then I come back up. I squeeze my glutes at the start of every rep to make sure I'm not using my hips. Okay, and that makes a good rep. Now, if this is very difficult for you at the beginning, you cannot flex your glutes, and you can just kind of relax them a little bit, and you can see I have a little bit of a kink now, and from there, it makes it just a little bit easier. But if I want to get more and more strict, then I'm going to lock out the hips there. Either way, you're still going to feel it a lot in the quads. So this is a variation of the Hindu squat that I like to do. When we're doing sissy squats, we're locking the hip forward and we're leaning back. So the torso angle is going back and down. The Hindu squat's much more of a vertical, upright torso. We're trying to stay as straight as possible. So I like those a lot. You can really feel the tension in the quads, and you can really focus on just being a knee movement or like a knee squat per se, instead of being a hip dominant squat. But I find with the Hindu squat, I have a hard time balancing on the ball of my foot the whole time. So if you just add a little stability into it, then it becomes a great exercise. So I use as many mats as I need to use just so that I can maintain an upright torso and I feel a good amount of balance. If it goes lower, then you get a little bit limited at the ankle, and then we start to want to use the hip. So by doing this, we shouldn't need to sit back at the hip very much. So as I go down, I'm just trying to stay as upright as possible, and I'm breaking at the knees, and I'm trying to not use my hip at all. All right, guys, so there's a couple exercises that you could try at home, you could do when you're traveling, or if you're in a garage gym, even if you just want to try something new. Hope those progressions help and those new exercises are fun for you.